What if I told you that the way you experience reality, everything you see, hear, feel, touch, even your memories and thoughts, may not be real at all? What if I told you that it's all just computer code? As crazy as that sounds, it may be closer to the truth than you think. What if the world you live in, every building, every person, every tree and blade of grass, everything you've ever experienced throughout your entire life, was all just made up? All those times you felt love, all those times you were betrayed, all those times you laughed, cried, dreamed, all of it, including the way you perceive yourself, was just lines of code scrolling across a screen somewhere, meaning none of it was real. And then you, the thing experiencing all of it, your body, your soul, your mind, doesn't really exist either. Instead, you're just a collection of numbers and letters, a bunch of ones and zeros, a string of code, essentially a digital character being manipulated by unseen forces. Well, that sounds terrifying. Is it possible? Could we be living in a simulation where we are nothing more than a bunch of ones and zeros in some cosmic computer program? Let's get started. Okay, so first things first. Why would anyone bother simulating a whole bunch of digital copies of life? Well, for many reasons. First, it might just be fun. Like playing God or something? Why not? Second, maybe they want to study us, watch us grow, see how we behave, see what we do. Or third, maybe they need to create lots of copies of us because they dying out and they think they can save themselves by uploading their consciousness to a digital copy of the world. Or fourth, it might be totally random. They might just be bored and want to play around. Either way, this is the general idea behind the simulation hypothesis, which was put forward by Nick Bostrom in his 2003 paper, Are We Living in a Computer Simulation? In the paper, he says that there are three possible scenarios. The first is that life just ends before any civilization becomes technologically advanced enough to simulate lifelike consciousness. The second is that such simulations have been attempted but ultimately abandoned, either because they are too resource intensive or because the civilizations didn't really care about creating artificial life. The third is that simulations are created all the time, and we're extremely unlikely to be living in a non-simulated universe. Why is that? Well, imagine for a second that life in our universe is like a big buffet. There are all kinds of different lives to choose from. Life is a single cell in the middle of the ocean. Life is a bird flying over Manhattan. Life is a robot vacuum cleaner cleaning up a messy apartment. But what if each life is rare? What if there are only a few single-cell organisms in the entire ocean? And what if there are even fewer robots vacuuming apartments? Well, in that case, it'd be pretty easy to identify our life as special, because odds are we're a pretty rare thing. But what if instead of a few single-cell organisms, there are trillions of them? And instead of a few robot vacuums, there are millions. Suddenly, our life isn't so special anymore. In fact, we might be the boring default life. What if our universe is like a giant buffet where most of the dishes are the same? Well, in that case, it's much more likely that we read just a basic simulation rather than a super rare life form. And the more simulations there are, the more likely it is that we're living in one. And according to astronomer Michio Kaku, there could be as many as 10 to the 10 simulations. That's a 1 followed by 20 zeros. Of course, this is just a guess, but if even a small fraction of that number are real, the odds of us living in a simulation skyrocket. But what evidence do we even have for any of this? Well, there are a few things. First, the universe seems to run on mathematical rules. Everything from the motion of planets to the behavior of subatomic particles. It's all math. This suggests that the universe could be coded or programmed. Second, we've never found a true indivisible pixel of matter. Everything breaks down into energy. We haven't found a fundamental particle that can't be broken down further. Even if we had, we still wouldn't know that it's real. We'd only know that it exists in relation to other particles. And since those other particles are also made of smaller particles, it's like a never-ending story. We can't ever know what the fundamental particle really is. We can only know what it appears to be. Third, quantum mechanics suggests that the observer affects the observed. For example, when we try to measure subatomic particles, we always get a definite answer, like 1 or 0, true or false, up or down. But when we don't look at them, they seem to be in a state of flux, both true and false, up and down. At the same time, when we observe them, we force them to choose one state or the other. This could suggest that the universe doesn't exist until we look at it. In other words, reality is created through observation. So if we're living in a simulation, who's running it? Well, to answer that question, we can turn to science fiction. In the movie The Matrix, humans are enslaved by sentient machines, and their brains are used as batteries to power the machine city. The machines create a fake reality called the Matrix that humans live in, while their bodies are plugged into the machines. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it might not be as crazy as you think. Some scientists speculate that we might be living in a computer simulation, similar to the Matrix, but instead of machines, it's aliens running the show. According to astronomer Michio Kaku, it's possible that advanced aliens could create simulations of past civilizations to study evolutions. In fact, some scientists speculate that this is what we were doing to animals on Earth by creating computer simulations of them. In some cases, scientists have created computer models of mice and rats. These models are so realistic that sometimes the scientists have to stop and wonder if they re-interact with a real animal or a computer simulation. Of course, we don't know if any of this is true. The simulation hypothesis is just a thought experiment, but it makes us wonder, what if we are living in a simulation? What if everything we see, hear, feel, touch, and even think is just computer code? What if we're just digital characters in a cosmic computer game? If that's true, what does it mean? Does it mean we're nothing more than puppets, dancing to the tune of some unseen puppeteer? Or does it mean that reality is far more complex than we understand? The truth is, we don't know. But one thing is certain. If we are living in a simulation, the game is on. The question is, are you ready to play? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Subscribe to the channel and help me to reach 100 subscribers for more videos. Thanks for watching.